All right, hi, I'm Patrick, and CEO of Reverse Ionizer. We heard Corey talk about saving energy for buildings. Our product addresses the two major issues of building cooling systems. I have a picture there showing the rooftops of typical buildings in New York City. There's your cooling towers. On the right is the data center and the emissions from the cooling towers. We've got patented technology that's going to mitigate both the scale and the biocontaminants of these cooling towers. We've completed the proof of concept, and now we're going into our pilot phase. Legionnaires. Legionnaires is popping up in cooling towers everywhere. The Centers for Disease Control came out with a study last May and said 84% of cooling towers have Legionella DNA. Just to tell you how bad it can be, the Director of Research and Development of the EPA told me that when you're walking down the street of a typical city and you think you've gotten the flu, you may have gotten Legionnaire's disease. And it's from those cooling towers. It can be. What's our solution? We've come up with a technologically advanced plasma probe that will, so far in our laboratory tests, completely eradicate biocontaminants. Scale. So Corey talked about saving 30%. The Department of Energy lists if you have 1/4 of an inch of buildup in your pipes, you lose 40% energy in your pumps. Typical buildings can look like that pipe. What do you do to solve that issue? For 100 years, since cooling towers have been in existence, they use chemicals. There's a typical chemical solution, 8 different chemicals for this one customer, and you can see corrosive number 8. That's the highest corrosion level of these chemicals. Sulfuric acid being poured into these cooling towers. Nobody has any idea of what portions to put in at any given time because water conditions change weekly, daily, hourly. Our go-to-market plan. So we've had very successful proof of concept on both our plasma and our electromagnetic probe. There's pictures of what we've developed in our laboratory. Over the next 9 months, we'll be conducting field tests, and once successful, we'll be going to market. Commercial buildings, there's 2 million cooling towers that exist in different sizes and tonnages in the United States. So Corey said there's 6 million buildings overall. 1/3 of them have some sort of cooling towers. The hospitality industry, we literally started our business 2 blocks from here at the Marriott, the JW Marriott. We got introduced to the head of global engineering. They took us in there. We put a very rudimentary pilot in there in their dishwasher loop, and we're successful in keeping the scale from forming on the glassware. Healthcare industry. Hospitals, healthcare facilities are just bastions for Legionella and other bacteria. And the company managers are finding out that the lawsuits are huge. You may have seen last November, Disneyland got attacked. One of the cooling towers, 2 of the cooling towers had to be shut down. A guest unfortunately died. CDC reports that 10 to 20% of Legionella cases result in death. Universities. Universities are concerned about the students and all the population running around the campuses. So what's the differentiator? Nobody's been able to figure out how to make a 24/7 by 365 solution. We use a radio frequency technology that has, again, proven itself in the laboratory. We've got 6 patents issued and 14 more in various stages of applications. Our model is subscription-based licensing of our technology. Our team, Chris Birch, our co-founder, is in the back. Bill Arndt is the former CFO at Sprint Nextel. He's also in the back with us. We've got incredible advisors. Steve's from former Bechtel executive, Black and Veatch. Amy created the carbon neutral footprint at Google. We've been in touch with Google, Microsoft, Facebook's been to our laboratory. Everybody wants to get our technology as soon as we get it proven. Glenn is the co-founder of one of the world's largest data center operators. Lorraine is a expert in physical water treatment, which is what we are, and she was recommended to us by one of the world's largest commercial real estate operators. Our short-term ask is we're looking to raise $1 million to carry us to next May, when our R&D will be finished at the pilot stage, and then we'll do a Series A round. Big news on strategic partnerships. One of the world's largest engineering firms who's been out to our lab, did their deep dive, brought their head chemist in, and just told us last Friday that it looks like they are going to be the winners of a contract to build one of the largest technologically advanced cities in the world in Saudi Arabia. So there's our product. It fits on the incoming water pipes of the cooling towers, and here to answer any questions.
Sure. Yeah. I sort of have a main question and then maybe add on potentially slightly awkward question. The main question is you showed us a very broad range of applications.
Yes.
For your technology, and can you give us a flavor of which of those you prioritize and why, and what channels?
So
these slightly different ones you use to get to them?
So the low-hanging fruit in our company is the cooling towers. And I literally, 5 blocks from here last month, was invited as a panelist at the public hearing on Legionella in buildings. And after I spoke and the thing was over, the world's 2 largest cooling tower manufacturers came up to me and said, we want to help you get this technology to market. So cooling towers will be number 1, but our technology is projected to work in all kinds of different applications. We list there data centers, ships, mining, desalinization, and nuclear waste. Huge applications. Our plan is to license the technology to the giant companies that will actually make the products.
Okay, great. I literally have no idea how a cooling tower works.
Yep. It's this simple. It's this simple. You've got the hot air building in the buildings, and it goes into the cooling tower. There's what's called a heat exchanger, and the water goes through there, and it filters into a cooling tower over slats, and the hot air rises, as you saw on my first slide, and then the cool water falls to the bottom and it gets recirculated.
Okay. And so what does your product actually do? Does it kill?
So we have 2 products. The first product uses electric fields and magnetic fields to keep the natural occurring scale that you saw in that one pipe in a solid, in a form where it just gets filtered out through the filtration system. And then on the plasma side, the water goes through 5 different mechanisms. The heat streamers in that plasma is 2,000 degrees centigrade, and there's other mechanisms, and our tests have shown that we've exceeded EPA recommendations.
And do those work in tandem, or do they have to work in tandem?
They do not have to work in tandem. Some people don't need to worry about bacteria contamination, so you can get one or both or a combination.
And one last question, how much does it cost?
So we're building our pilots now. We're expecting the cost of the device will be between $50,000 and $100,000, and we'll have 50-60% margins. The great news is that between the energy savings, the water savings, the chemical savings, and then the risk reduction, it's going to justify itself, projected to be in 2 years.
Great, thank you.
My question was actually tags onto that, which is I was trying to figure out, and this shows my ignorance on your world here, which I'm fascinated by, but somebody is solving this problem right now with chemicals, as I understood it. Right?
99% of the world uses chemicals.
So I'm, I guess, trying to understand the sales pitch, if you could frame it something akin to this, was like, building owner, you pay $10,000 a year right now to solve your problem with chemicals. You're gonna buy my product. It's gonna cost you 50 grand up front. Now you don't need chemicals, and we've reduced your chance of Legionnaires by 20%. What's that? How is that pitch framed?
So our pitch is most likely going to be, excuse me, we won't sell the product, we'll lease it, and, excuse me, and the costs will probably be less than what you're currently paying in
So your
water
product
energy.
on the lease is below the cost of chemicals, and that's even before you get to the environmental.
That's what it's projecting out to be. The U.S. Department of Energy has been studying this for 25 years, and they've made the projections of 2 to 3 years savings. Nobody's been able to figure this out. We've taken the time, we've spent 6 years developing this technology and now have 2 proof of concepts that have now pushed it to the pilot stage.
Okay, so I'm not familiar at all as well with the technology, and so you said that 99% of the market is using chemicals.
Yes.
So what about the percent remaining? What are the substitutes? And is there a chance that they develop a better solution compared to you?
So, great question. The other 1% has been trying for 40 years to perfect this, and nobody has figured out until we got a radio frequency expert engineering firm to sit down and understand what was taking place and how to solve it. So the other 1% are devices that are one size fits all, and we know this because one of our potential installers has been installing one of the other devices, the leading device, and says it only works 20% of the time, and that's only because it's been in stable water conditions. Water conditions change dramatically pretty much over 2/3 of the United States.
One more quick question. Whose life, when you're selling this, who within the, is it the facility manager, whose life gets vastly better because they purchase from you? Who's the constituency who says, thank you for solving my problem?
So it's the owner of these properties. So the Marriott Hotel down the street desperately wants to make sure that it's not injuring, harming its guests. As I said, walking down the street, people are breathing this cooling tower exhaust every day. It's becoming more and more prevalent that they're figuring out that the contamination is coming from those cooling towers.
So again, I hope my question is not naive, but do you have or will you do some partnership with the cooling system installers or companies?
So the 2 largest cooling tower manufacturers came up to me 5 blocks away over at the National Academies of Science and said, we want to help you get this technology to market. I actually have a paper from one of them that I can show you. People want to get this product out into the marketplace. It's been decades that people have been trying, and we think we've nailed the technology. And not just we have this, as I said, a Fortune 100 company that pretty much did a deep dive and has recommended us, and now it looks like we're going to be partners with them. Yeah.